3 days after the battle, Captain Daeho Choi stood in the observation deck of the Absolute Testament and looked down at Earth. The planet was wounded. He could see the craters where cities used to be. Mumbai, Jakarta, Cairo, Mexico City. 12 cities destroyed, 3.4 billion people dead, a third of humanity, gone in less than a week. But humanity had survived. That was what mattered. Behind him, the door opened. General Yunishin walked in, moving slowly. She had a bandage wrapped around her head and walked with a cane. The doctors had told her to rest, but she ignored them. There was too much work to do. How are the repairs going? She asked. Area says we'll have full power back in 2 weeks. Shields in 3 weeks. Some of the weapon systems are destroyed completely, but we can rebuild them. Good, because I don't think this is over. Daeho turned to look at her. What do you mean? The Velkari who escaped will report back to their empire. They'll tell them about the testament, about what happened here. We might have more enemies coming. Then we prepare. We rebuild. We build more ships like the testament. Yuna nodded slowly. I've already started. Project Testament is now official. We're going to build 12 more warships. It will take years, maybe decades, but we'll do it. Earth will never be this vulnerable again. They stood in silence for a moment, looking at their damaged world. I keep thinking about all the people we lost, Daeho said quietly. My sister was in Jakarta. I didn't even get to say goodbye. I know. I lost people too. We all did. Yuna put a hand on his shoulder. But they didn't die for nothing. They bought us time. Time for you to find this ship. Time for us to fight back. Their sacrifice saved humanity. I hope that's enough. It has to be. Down on Earth, Commander Jamin Park was helping with the reconstruction. Seoul was a ruin, but people were already clearing debris and rebuilding. Humans were stubborn like that. Knocked them down and they got back up. He worked alongside civilians, moving rubble, helping search for survivors in collapsed buildings. His military rank didn't matter here. Everyone worked together. A young girl, maybe 8 years old, approached him. She held a drawing in her hands. Mister, I made this for you. Jamin took the drawing. It showed the testament in space, shooting at alien ships. The girl had drawn it in bright colors, making the battle look almost cheerful. It's beautiful, he said. Thank you. My mom says you saved us. You and the big ship. She says we're going to be okay now. Jamin knelt down to her level. Your mom is right. We're going to be okay. It will take time, but we'll rebuild, and we'll be stronger than before. The girl smiled and ran back to her mother. Jamin watched her go, then looked back at the drawing. Maybe they would be okay. Maybe humanity had earned its place in the universe. On the testament, Dr. Hana Kim was working with Arya to prepare a message. Not a surrender message this time. The opposite. We need to be clear, Hana said. Strong but not aggressive. We don't want to start a war with the entire Velkari Empire. Agreed, Arya said. However, we must also make it clear that Earth is no longer an easy target. The message should inspire caution. They worked for hours, writing and rewriting. Finally, they had something they were satisfied with. They brought it to Yuna for approval. Yuna read it twice. Then she nodded. It's perfect. Send it with the Velkari survivors. The testament had captured one intact Velkari ship after the battle. 37 crew members scared and defeated. Daeho had them brought to the bridge. The Velkari captain, a female named Korvala, stood before him. She was trying to be brave, but he could see the fear in her 4 eyes. You are free to go, Daeho said. Take your ship and return to your empire, but you will carry a message with you. Korvala straightened. What message? Hana stepped forward and handed her a data drive. Tell your people what happened here. Tell them about the testament. Tell them that Earth is not weak. We were caught by surprise, yes. We lost billions, but we fought back, we won, and we are preparing to make sure this never happens again. You want us to spread fear, Korvala said. No, Yuna said. We want you to spread truth. Fear is just a consequence. We don't enjoy killing. We don't want war. But if anyone comes to Earth with weapons, they will face the same fate as Commander Tholvar. Korvala took the data drive. My people will hear of this. The Velkari Empire is vast. We have thousands of ships. And we have time to build thousands more, Daeho said. We also have something you don't. We have nothing left to lose. We've already seen the worst. We've already lost our loved ones. Any enemy who comes here will face an opponent who knows that death is not the worst thing that can happen. Korvala was quiet for a long moment. Then she bowed her head slightly. I will deliver your message. I hope we meet again under better circumstances. So do I, Deho said. The Valkyrie ship left orbit and jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying its message to the stars. The message was simple. We are humanity. We inhabit the third planet from the star you call Sol 3. In the outer arm of the galaxy, Commander Tholvar of the Valkyrie Empire came to conquer us. He believed we were primitive and weak. He destroyed 12 of our cities and killed billions of our people. He demanded our surrender. We refused. We fought with every weapon we had. When those were not enough, we revealed what we had hidden. A warship built in secret, waiting for the day it would be needed. That day came. The Testament destroyed his fleet. Commander Tholvar is dead. His ships are scattered. We tell you this not to threaten you, but to inform you. Earth is not for conquest. Any species that comes in peace will be welcomed. We will trade with you, learn from you, and share our culture. But any species that comes with weapons will learn what the Valkyrie learned. We will defend ourselves. We will fight. And we will win. This is not pride. This is fact. We are humanity. We endure. Over the following months, the message spread. Alien civilizations across the galaxy heard about the Battle of Earth. Some dismissed it as propaganda. Others investigated and found it was true. A primitive species had defeated the Valkyrie Empire. Impossible, but true. Some species became curious. They sent peaceful envoys to Earth, offering trade and knowledge. Humanity cautiously accepted, learning that not all aliens were enemies. The Valkyrie Empire, however, did something unexpected. They removed Earth from their conquest list. The sector was marked as forbidden. No Valkyrie ship would approach the Sol system again. The Empire had lost too many ships, too many people. They had learned their lesson. 10 years later, Earth was transformed. Sol had been rebuilt bigger and better than before. The craters where cities had stood were now memorials, places where people came to remember the fallen. Above the planet, construction continued on the New Testament-class warships. 4 were already completed and operational. 8 more were being built. Captain Daeho Choi was now Admiral Choi, head of Project Testament. He had trained thousands of new crew members, built new weapons, and expanded humanity's defenses. He stood on the bridge of the Testament, which had been fully repaired and upgraded. His son, a boy of 6 named Quan, stood beside him. "Papa, why is it called the Testament?" Quan asked. Daeho knelt down. "Do you know what a testament is?" "A promise?" "Close, it's a statement of truth. Something that cannot be broken. This ship is our promise to the universe, a promise that humanity will never surrender, that we will stand tall no matter what comes, that we will protect each other and our home." "Did we really fight aliens?" "Yes, and we won. But we also lost a lot. Your grandmother was one of the people who died in the war." Quan looked sad. "I wish I could have met her. Me too. But she's part of the reason we're still here. She and billions of others bought us time to fight back. We have to remember them always." "I will." Daeho hugged his son. Around them, the bridge crew worked efficiently, monitoring space, watching for threats. But things were peaceful now. Earth had allies. It had defenses. It had hope. Commander Jae-min, now a colonel, visited the ship that day. He found Daeho in the observation deck looking at the stars. "Hard to believe it's been 10 years, Jae-min said. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago. We did it, though. We survived. Humanity is still here, and getting stronger every day." They stood together, 2 men who had faced the end of the world and lived to rebuild it. Far across the galaxy, in a dark room on a distant world, aliens discussed the humans. Some called them dangerous. Others called them valuable allies. But all agreed on one thing: Earth was no longer a target. It was a warning. Never underestimate a species that has everything to lose. Never underestimate a species that refuses to surrender. Never underestimate humanity. The Testament hung in orbit, silent and watchful, a monument to survival and a promise to the future. Its weapons were ready but pointed at no one. It existed not to conquer but to protect, and in the darkness of space where dangers still lurked, the Testament waited, ready for whatever came next. Because humanity had learned the most important lesson of all: we are never truly defeated until we choose to stop fighting. And humanity would never make that choice. The stars were full of challenges, full of dangers, full of opportunities. and humanity was ready for all of them. The Great Archive stretched for miles beneath the surface of Council Prime. Ambassador Nari Choi walked through corridors lined with data crystals that held 50 million years of galactic history. Her footsteps echoed in the vast chamber as she searched for information about early human contact with other species. Nari had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 5 years now. She was used to the way other species looked at humans with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Most ambassadors were friendly enough, but there was always something held back, some unspoken reservation. She wanted to understand why. The holographic librarian, a floating sphere of blue light, guided her to Section 7 Alpha. This section contained records marked as restricted or dangerous. Nari raised her eyebrows. Why would early human history be restricted? She found the file marked Species Humanity, Classification Extreme Caution. Her hands trembled slightly as she activated the crystal. The air shimmered and images began to form around her. The first record came from the Drath Empire, dated 12,000 years ago. Nari watched as the hologram showed massive ships descending on ancient Earth. The Drath were a proud species, conquerors who had ruled 100 worlds. They came to Earth when humans still lived in simple villages and hunted with spears. The Drath report was clinical at first. They described humans as primitive but suitable for labor. The plan was simple: take 10,000 humans to work in their mining colonies. The Drath commander noted that humans seemed physically weak and technologically helpless. It would be easy. Nari watched the hologram shift to show what happened next. The humans fought back with stones and wooden spears. The Drath laughed at first. Their weapons could level mountains. What could primitives do? But the humans did not stop. When the Drath killed 10 humans, 100 more attacked. When they killed 100, 1,000 came. The humans learned quickly. They studied Drath technology from fallen soldiers. Within weeks, humans were using captured weapons. Within months, they were improving them. The final Drath transmission made Nari's blood run cold. The commander's voice was filled with panic. They don't stop. They never stop. We killed their warriors so their farmers became warriors. We burned their villages so they lived in the forests. We destroyed their weapons so they made new ones. Send no more ships. Avoid this world. They are not worth the cost. The Drath fleet never returned home. 300 ships and 50,000 soldiers vanished. The Drath Empire fell into decline and eventually went extinct. Historians blamed internal conflicts, but the report suggested otherwise. The report suggested that some humans had followed the Drath home. Nari felt her heart racing. She activated the second record. The Corvani collective came to Earth 8,000 years ago. They were more subtle than the Drath. They did not want slaves. They wanted Earth's water and minerals. The humans could leave or die. The Corvani did not care which. This time, humans had learned to work metal. They had cities and armies. But they still had no space travel. The Corvani thought this made them safe. The war lasted 3 years. The Corvani held orbit and bombed human positions from space. They destroyed every city they found. Millions of humans died. The Corvani recorded their victory and began mining operations. Then humans who had hidden underground emerged. They had studied the Corvani attacks. They had learned the patterns. Using nothing but chemical rockets and courage, human pilots flew suicide missions into Corvani ships. The ships fell from the sky. The Corvani sent more fleets. Humans captured them. The Corvani used biological weapons. Humans survived and used them back. Every weapon the Corvani deployed, humans adapted to and returned with modifications. The final Corvani entry was brief. Victory was a mistake. We should have left them alone. The survivors remember. Their children remember. They know our homeworld now. We cannot stop them. To future species, do not provoke humanity. The cost is too high. The Corvani collective collapsed 200 years after their war with Earth. Their worlds fell silent. No distress calls were ever sent. They simply ceased to exist. Nari's mouth was dry. She activated the third record. The Talshek Dominion encountered humans 3,000 years ago. By this time, humans had primitive space travel. They had colonies on nearby moons and planets. The Talshek were a vast empire spanning thousands of worlds. They saw these human colonies as insignificant. The Talshek did not attack Earth directly. They simply took control of human colonies. 5 million humans found themselves enslaved across the galaxy. The Talshek believed that holding these colonists would prevent Earth from retaliating. After all, humans valued their own people. They would negotiate. They were wrong. Earth declared total war. Not just on the Talshek military, but on the entire empire. Human fleets launched attacks on every Talshek world simultaneously. When the Talshek destroyed human ships, the humans built more. When the Talshek killed millions, the humans recruited millions more. The Talshek expected humans to value their colonies. Instead, humans treated their own enslaved people as already dead. They attacked Talshek slave facilities, knowing human captives would die. The freed humans who survived immediately joined the fight. The war consumed both species. Humans lost billions, but they did not stop. They did not negotiate. They did not slow down. The Talshek Dominion, which had stood for 10,000 years, fell in just 15 years of war with humanity. The final warning was written by a Talshek historian hiding in a bunker on a dead world. They will burn their own worlds to reach you. They will sacrifice everything for victory. They calculate acceptable losses in ways that terrify other species. Do not enslave them. Do not threaten them. Do not assume you can control them through hostages or mercy. They have neither weakness nor limit when provoked. This is our final warning to the galaxy. Leave humanity alone. Nari stood in the archive, surrounded by the ghosts of 3 dead civilizations. All of them had been powerful empires. All of them had made the same mistake. They had seen humans as weak, primitive, or controllable. She finally understood why the Council kept Earth at a distance. It was not disrespect. It was fear. The other species remembered, even if humans had forgotten. For 12,000 years, the pattern had held. Every species that attacked humanity eventually ceased to exist. A voice behind her made Nari jump. Counselor Vexthron stood in the doorway. The elderly alien looked at her with his 4 eyes full of sadness. Now you know, Vexthron said quietly. We do not avoid your species because we think you are weak. We avoid you because we know you are not. Nari looked back at the records. But we've been peaceful for 200 years. We've shared our technology. We've helped other species. Yes, Vexthron agreed. And that terrifies us even more. A species that can be peaceful after such a violent history is a species with extraordinary self-control. But self-control can be lost. The question the Council always asks is, what happens when humanity stops choosing peace? Nari had no answer. She deactivated the records and left the archive. But the images stayed with her. The warnings stayed with her. And somewhere in the galaxy, someone was about to learn why those warnings existed. Warlord Thraknor stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the holographic display of human territory. The Kryn Empire had expanded rapidly over the past century, conquering 14 species and absorbing their worlds. Now Thraknor had his eyes on humanity's colonies. His intelligence officer, a younger Kryn named Velkor, approached nervously. Warlord, the ancient records suggest caution regarding humanity. Perhaps we should... Ancient records are written by the weak to justify their failures, Thraknor interrupted. I have read these so-called warnings. 3 primitive empires lost to primitive humans thousands of years ago. But look at humanity now. They have fewer than 100 worlds. They share their technology freely. They negotiate instead of conquer. These are not the actions of a dangerous species. These are the actions of prey. Velkor bowed his head. As you command, Warlord, Thraknor smiled. The humans had grown soft. 2 centuries of peace had made them forget how to fight. The Kryn would remind them. On the human colony world of New Busan, Dr. Sujin Han was working in her laboratory. She studied alien plant life, trying to find species that could help terraform other worlds. It was peaceful work. She liked peace. The sky turned orange without warning. Sujin looked up through the lab windows and saw fire falling from space. For a moment, her mind could not process what she was seeing. Then her training took over. Orbital bombardment, she screamed. Everyone to the shelters! The first blast hit 3 kilometers away. The shockwave shattered every window in the laboratory. Sujin ran, pulling her young assistant Minjae with her. Behind them, the building collapsed into flames. They reached the emergency shelter just as the second wave hit. Sujin sealed the door and activated the communications panel. Static filled the speakers. She tried every frequency. All she got was screaming and silence. Through the shelter's reinforced window, Sujin watched her city burn. Ships she did not recognize filled the sky. They were not shooting at military targets. They were shooting at everything. Homes, schools, hospitals. The aliens wanted everyone dead. Across 3 human colony worlds, the same scene played out. The Kryn attacked without warning and without mercy. 30,000 humans died in the first hour. On mining station Juno 7, engineer Yoonji Park was repairing a power conduit when the station shook. Alarms blared. She ran to the control room and found her supervisor staring at the screens in horror. "What's happening?" Yoonji asked. "Aliens," her supervisor whispered. "Unknown ships. They're boarding us." The station had no weapons. It was a civilian facility. Yoonji grabbed a wrench, knowing how useless it was. The airlock exploded inward. Massive armored figures entered, their weapons ready. Yoonji's supervisor raised his hands. "We surrender. We're civilians. The alien shot him." The supervisor fell, his chest smoking. The other workers screamed. The aliens shot 2 more people. Then their leader spoke in translated human language. "You are now property of the Kryn Empire. Resist and die. Obey and live." These deaths are examples. Yoonji dropped her wrench. Her hands shook. She looked at her friends' bodies and felt something cold settle in her chest. This was not right. This was not how things worked. The galaxy had rules. The council had laws. You did not just attack civilians. You did not just murder people. But the Kryn had done exactly that. Captain Taeyang Kim was sleeping in his quarters when the emergency alert woke him. He bolted upright and activated his communicator. "Bridge, report." "Sir, we're receiving distress calls from New Busan, Haven Colony, and Port Sejong. All 3 worlds are under attack. Heavy casualties. Unknown hostile forces." Taeyang was running before his officer finished speaking. He reached the bridge in 30 seconds. The main screen showed chaos. 3 of humanity's colonies were burning. "Identify the attackers," Taeyang ordered. "Cross-referencing now, sir. Match found. Kryn Empire vessels. They're broadcasting a message on all frequencies." "Put it through." Warlord Thraknor's image filled the screen. The alien looked pleased with himself. "Humans of Earth, you are now subjects of the Kryn Empire. Surrender all colonial holdings and military vessels within 24 hours. Resist and we will exterminate you world by world. You cannot win. You will not fight. You will obey." The message ended. Taeyang stared at the screen. His younger sister Jihai was stationed on New Busan. He pulled up the casualty reports, his hands steady despite the fear in his chest. Her name was not on the confirmed dead list. Not yet. "Communications, get me Earth Command," Taeyang said quietly. At the Galactic Council, Ambassador Nari burst into an emergency session. The chamber was in chaos. Representatives from a dozen species were shouting at once. The Kryn had attacked a council member species without declaration or warning. This violated every treaty and law. Nari approached the Kryn ambassador, a minor official named Tokran. "You have committed an act of war. Withdraw immediately or face what?" Tokran sneered. "Your pathetic fleet, your outdated weapons. Humanity has grown weak. You talk about laws and peace. We talk about strength and conquest. Your colonies are already lost. Soon Earth will fall too." Counselor Vexthran pulled Nari aside. The old alien's face was grave. "Ambassador, you must contact your government. The Kryn do not understand what they have done. They've declared war," Nari said, her voice shaking with anger. "No," Vexthran said. "They have triggered something far worse. They have reminded humanity why those ancient warnings exist." On Earth, Admiral Jinho Lee stood in the war room deep beneath the planet's surface. Around him, holographic displays showed the Kryn attack from every angle. Military analysts worked frantically, calculating casualties and defensive strategies. Earth's Prime Minister, an elderly woman named Sun-hee Park, entered the room. Everyone stood at attention. She waved them down and looked at the displays. "Casualties?" she asked. 30,000 confirmed dead, Admiral Jinho reported. Another 50,000 missing or trapped. The Kryn are holding Juno 7 and 2 other stations. They have hostages. Military assessment? The Kryn fleet consists of approximately 400 capital ships with support craft. They have superior numbers but outdated tactics. Our intelligence suggests they expect us to surrender or engage in limited defensive actions. Prime Minister Sun-hee was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at Admiral Jinho. "Recommendations?" "I recommend we accept their surrender," Jinho said. "When they offer it." "Which they will," Sun-hee nodded. "Activate Total War Protocol. Authorization code Omega 77 Black. No negotiation, no mercy until they break." Make them understand why the galaxy fears us. Admiral Jinho smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Yes, Prime Minister. It will be my pleasure. The authorization codes went out across human space. On 1,000 worlds in orbit around 100 stars, dormant systems activated. Civilian ships received new programming. Hidden weapons powered up. Soldiers who had never seen combat checked equipment that had been waiting in storage for 2 centuries. Captain Taeyang received his orders. His diplomatic vessel Peaceful Dawn was transforming. Panels slid aside to reveal weapons that should not exist. His crew, trained as diplomats and scientists, moved with military precision to their battle stations. All hands, Taeyang announced over the ship-wide communications. We have not fought a war in 200 years. We hoped we would never fight again. But the Kryn have attacked our homes. They have killed our families. They believe we are weak because we choose peace. They are about to learn they are wrong. Battle stations. And may whatever gods exist have mercy on them because we will not. Across human space, the same message was repeated. In the Galactic Council, ambassadors from other species felt a chill. They had read the historical warnings. They knew what was coming. Counselor Vexthran looked at the tactical display showing human ships beginning to move. He whispered a prayer in his ancient language. Not for humanity, for the Kryn. Because the galaxy was about to remember why you never provoke Earth. The Kryn expected negotiation. They expected fear. They expected surrender. What they got was silence. For 48 hours after their ultimatum, humanity did not respond. No messages. No pleas for mercy. No diplomatic protest. The silence made Warlord Thraknor uneasy, though he would never admit it. Perhaps they are too frightened to respond, suggested Velcor. Thraknor nodded, pushing down his doubts. Send another message. Tell them their time is running out. Before Velcor could follow the order, every screen on the Kryn flagship went black. Then a simple message appeared in glowing red letters. You have attacked our homes. You have killed our people. You have made your choice. Now face the consequences. The screens went dark again. Thraknor felt his blood run cold. That message had appeared on a military vessel with the most advanced encryption in the Kryn Empire. The humans had walked through their security like it did not exist. In the underground facility known as Prometheus Station, Dr. Yuna Song stood before a massive sealed vault. She had spent 20 years working here, maintaining weapons that she hoped would never be used. Now her hope was gone. Authorization accepted, the computer announced. Unsealing Prometheus Arsenal. The vault doors, each 3 meters thick, slowly opened. Inside were weapons that had been waiting for centuries. Some had been built by humans. Others had been taken from the ancient Drath fleet and improved. All of them had one purpose: to end threats to humanity permanently. Yuna selected the first package. Deploy graviton disruptors to Admiral Jinho's fleet. Authorization Song Alpha 9. Confirmed. Graviton disruptors deploying. In orbit above Earth, panels opened on dozens of cargo vessels. Sleek black devices launched toward the waiting military fleet. They attached to human warships like parasites, but they were upgrades, not threats. Ships that had been standard military vessels suddenly had weapons that could tear apart space itself. Colonel Minho Kang stood in the briefing room with his Ghost Corps Special Forces. These were soldiers who did not officially exist. They trained for scenarios that were classified beyond top secret. They had never expected to actually deploy. Gentlemen, ladies, Minho said, looking at his team, we have 12 targets, Kryn military installations across their empire. We go in quiet. We do not engage unless necessary. Our job is to gather intelligence and sabotage their logistics. Standard infiltration protocols. A young soldier named Hyuk raised his hand. Sir, standard infiltration uses advanced technology. The Kryn will detect our equipment. Minho smiled. That's why we're not using advanced technology. We're going in with equipment from 500 years ago. Chemical propulsion. Physical lockpicks. Analog communications. They'll be looking for quantum signatures and energy weapons. They won't see us at all. The Ghost Corps deployed in small ships that barely qualified as spacecraft. They were crewed by modern standards, burning actual fuel to move. But that made them invisible to sensors designed to detect advanced propulsion systems. Yuk's team landed on a Kryn supply depot on the outer rim. They used actual parachutes to descend, not anti-gravity fields. They cut through fences with simple wire cutters. Inside the facility, Kryn guards never even looked their way because their sensors showed nothing. This is almost too easy, Hyuk whispered as they planted explosive charges on fuel reserves. That's the point, Minho replied over the secure analog radio. Never underestimate an enemy that chooses to use less than they're capable of. Now plant the rest and get out. Commander Do-hyun Choi sat in the captain's chair of the Silent Vengeance. His ship was one of humanity's greatest secrets. It used neutrino propulsion, a technology that worked by emitting particles that barely interacted with matter. To every sensor in the galaxy, his ship was invisible. 49 other ships exactly like his moved through space toward the Kryn homeworld. They traveled slowly, taking 3 days to reach their destination. Speed did not matter when your enemy could not see you. They arrived in orbit around the Kryn capital planet at exactly 0600 hours, local time. 50 ships, each carrying enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. They had not fired a single shot yet. Do-hyun opened a communications channel on every Kryn frequency. His message was simple and direct. This is Commander Do-hyun Choi of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have 24 hours to withdraw from all human territory and surrender your military command for war crimes trials. This is your only warning. If you refuse, we will begin orbital strikes on military targets. If you attack civilian targets again, we will respond with equal force against your civilian infrastructure. Choose wisely. On the Kryn homeworld, morning news broadcasts were interrupted by the human message. Citizens looked up at their skies. Telescopes and civilian sensors showed nothing. But their military was in panic. 50 ships had appeared in orbit without any warning at all. Warlord Thraknor received the report in disbelief. Impossible. Nothing can get past our detection grid. Nothing. The ships are there, Warlord, Velkor said, his voice shaking. Our planetary defense network confirms it. 50 capital ships in perfect formation. They are just sitting there, waiting. Then we destroy them, Thraknor snarled. Launch all planetary defense weapons. Blast them out of our sky. The Kryn homeworld's defenses activated. Hundreds of weapon platforms fired at the human ships. Energy beams that could cut through battleship armor lanced upward. The human ships did not dodge. They did not need to. The Kryn energy beams hit their shields and simply stopped. No explosion, no damage. The energy was absorbed and converted. The human ships began to glow brighter. Sir, a Kryn technician reported, their shields are not just blocking our attacks. They are feeding on them. Every shot we fire makes them stronger. Thraknor stared at the display in horror. Ceasefire. Ceasefire immediately, but damage was already done. The human ships had collected enough energy from the Kryn attacks to power their own weapons for months. Do-hyun watched his ship's energy reserves climb and felt a grim satisfaction. Broadcast a message, he ordered. Thank them for the free fuel. Captain Taeyang and his fleet arrived at New Busan 12 hours after the Kryn attack. The colony was in ruins, but survivors were broadcasting from shelters. Taeyang's crew worked frantically to locate the signals. I've got a strong signal from Shelter 47, reported the communications officer. Multiple life signs. One of them is, Sir, it's your sister. Commander Ji-hai Kim is alive. Taeyang closed his eyes briefly, allowing himself one moment of relief. Then he was all business again. Launch rescue shuttles. Get everyone out. And someone tell me where those Kryn bastards went. They retreated to their occupation vessels in high orbit, sir. They are holding position, likely expecting reinforcements. Then we will greet their reinforcements properly. Load the graviton disruptors. In the shelter, Dr. Soo-jin Han held Minja's hand as the building shook. Another bombing run. She had lost count of how many. The shelter's walls were cracking. They would not survive much longer. Then the shaking stopped. Soo-jin heard voices over the shelter's speakers. Human voices. This is Captain Taeyang Kim of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are evacuating all survivors. Please remain calm and proceed to the rescue shuttles in an orderly fashion. Soo-jin started crying. They had not been abandoned. Earth had not surrendered. Help had come. As survivors boarded the shuttles, Taeyang met his sister Ji-hai. She was covered in dust and had a bandage on her head, but she was alive. They embraced briefly. The Kryn said we were weak, Ji-hai said. They said Earth would not fight. Taeyang looked up at the Kryn vessels in orbit. They were wrong, and they are about to find out how wrong. Among the survivors was a young woman named Bora Shin. She approached Taeyang as he coordinated the evacuation. Captain, I worked in communications before the attack. I intercepted some of the Kryn military frequencies. They mentioned something called a central command frequency. All their ships connect to it. I think it might be a weakness. Taeyang looked at her sharply. Can you identify the frequency? Bora nodded. I recorded it. I thought it might be important. Taeyang smiled. Soldier, you might have just won us this war. He immediately transmitted the information to Admiral Jinho. Within hours, human cyber warfare specialists were analyzing the Kryn command network. What they found was a military planner's dream. The entire Kryn fleet operated on a centralized command structure. Disrupt that structure and you could cripple their entire military. The Kryn reinforcement fleet arrived at New Busan expecting to find a conquered colony. Instead, they found human warships waiting. The Kryn commander, confident in his superior numbers, ordered an immediate attack. The human ships did not retreat. They activated the graviton disruptors. Reality twisted. Space itself bent around the Kryn ships. Their hulls crumpled like paper as gravity waves tore through them. Half the Kryn fleet was destroyed in the first 30 seconds. The survivors tried to flee, they did not make it far. The human ships pursued, their weapons feeding on every shot the Kryn fired. It was not a battle. It was a massacre. On the Kryn homeworld, Warlord Thraknor watched the battle reports in growing horror. In 6 hours of fighting, 60% of the Kryn military fleet had been disabled or destroyed. The humans had lost 3 ships, 3 out of over 200. The war entered its second week. The Galactic Council expected negotiations to begin. Surely humanity would accept a ceasefire now that they had demonstrated their strength. Surely the Kryn would sue for peace. Both sides ignored the council completely. Fleet Admiral Sang Woo-yoon stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Indomitable, studying a holographic map of the entire Kryn Empire. 200 worlds, thousands of military installations, millions of soldiers, all of it marked and catalogued. Operation Relentless Tide is ready for execution, Admiral, his tactical officer reported. Sang-woo nodded. Begin. Across human space, fleets that had been gathering in secret launched simultaneously. They did not attack one target. They attacked every target. Every Kryn military base, shipyard, and command center came under assault at the exact same moment. The Kryn military command could not process what was happening. Reports flooded in from every corner of their empire. Human ships were everywhere. How could they coordinate such a massive attack? How had they positioned forces across such vast distances without detection? The answer was simple. They had been doing it for 200 years. While humanity appeared to focus on peace and exploration, they had quietly mapped every potential threat in the galaxy. The Kryn Empire had been thoroughly surveyed decades ago. Humans knew where every military asset was located. They knew the shift schedules of guard posts. They knew which planets had civilian populations and which were purely military, and they had been patient, waiting, just in case. Mirai Jung worked in Earth's Psychological Warfare Division. Her job was to break enemy morale without firing a shot. She sat in a small office surrounded by screens showing Kryn civilian news broadcasts. They are being fed propaganda, Mirai told her team. Their government is telling them they are winning. Time to show them the truth. Her team had hacked into the Kryn civilian communication network days ago. It had been embarrassingly easy. Now they used it to broadcast reality. Kryn civilians watching their evening news saw the programs interrupted. Instead of propaganda, they saw actual battle footage. They watched human ships destroy their military fleets. They saw the casualty numbers their government had hidden. They saw evidence that their leaders had attacked human colonies without provocation. Most damning of all, they saw recordings of Warlord Thraknor discussing the attack in a strategy meeting. The humans are weak. They will not fight. This will be an easy conquest. The footage spread across the Kryn homeworld in minutes. Within hours, protests erupted in major cities. The Kryn people had not wanted this war. They had not even known it was happening until their ships started dying. Jinwoo Nam led a team of the best hackers in human space. They called themselves the Network Ghosts. Their job was to infiltrate Kryn military systems and plant backdoors that would ensure the Kryn could never threaten humanity again. Their encryption is good, Jinwoo admitted, but it is based on mathematical principles. Everything based on math can be broken with better math. His team worked for 3 days straight, surviving on stimulants and determination. They did not just hack the Kryn systems. They rewrote them. Every piece of Kryn military technology now had hidden code buried deep in its operating system. Code that could be activated by human command. It's done, Jinwoo announced. Every Kryn weapon, ship, and communication system now has a kill switch. If they ever attack us again, we can shut down their entire military with one command. They will not even know we did it until it is too late. The Kryn Empire realized they were losing. Warlord Thraknor, desperate and furious, authorized the use of forbidden weapons, biological agents, quantum bombs, reality warping technology that was banned by every galactic treaty. The Kryn deployed a biological weapon against the human colony of Port Sejong. It was a virus designed to attack human nervous systems. It killed quickly and painfully. 3,000 colonists died in agony. Earth's response was immediate. Admiral Sangwoo did not rage or threaten. He simply gave an order. Deploy countermeasures. Same virus, modified for Kryn biology. Target only military installations on the Kryn homeworld. The Kryn had used biological warfare. So would humanity. But humans had studied Kryn biology for 2 centuries. They knew exactly how to modify the virus. Within 18 hours, a modified version was released in the atmosphere above 3 Kryn military bases. The difference was that humans gave a 12-hour warning and provided the antidote formula publicly. Kryn military personnel had time to evacuate or treat themselves. The message was clear: we can kill you whenever we want. We choose not to. Do not mistake this for weakness. The Kryn deployed quantum bombs that could erase matter at the subatomic level. They used them against human mining facilities, destroying installations and everyone in them. Humans responded with graviton weapons that turned the quantum bombs back on their launchers. 3 Kryn weapons platforms were erased from existence by their own weapons. The Kryn tried reality warping technology that could fold space and crush ships like tin cans. Humans had encountered similar technology before, taken from the ancient Drath fleet. They knew how to counter it. They also knew how to use it better. A Kryn battle fleet found itself suddenly transported into the heart of a star. It happened so fast they did not even have time to scream. For every weapon the Kryn used, humanity had a counter, and humanity always used it better. Medic Hana Lee worked in a field hospital near the front lines. She treated wounded soldiers and rescued civilians. When Kryn prisoners were brought in, injured and terrified, she treated them too. Why? A Kryn soldier asked her as she bandaged his wounds. We attacked your people. We killed your civilians. Why show mercy? Hana looked at him steadily. Because you are not our enemy. Your leaders are. You are just a soldier following orders. We are fighting to stop the threat, not to exterminate your species. Surrender and you will be treated fairly. Fight, and you will be destroyed. The choice is yours. The Kryn soldier stared at her. This was not what he had been told about humans. His commanders said humans were monsters who would kill any Kryn on sight. But here was a human doctor saving his life. He was not the only one. Hundreds of Kryn prisoners were treated with the same professional care as human wounded. Their injuries were healed. They were given food and shelter. They were allowed to send messages home. These acts of mercy were broadcast across the galaxy by journalists who followed the war. The images spread. Humans were ruthless to threats but merciful to those who surrendered. It broke the Kryn will to fight more effectively than any weapon. Kryn soldiers began surrendering in large numbers. Why die for leaders who had lied to them when the enemy would treat them better than their own commanders did? Captain Taeyang led a raid to rescue the last human prisoners held by the Kryn. Intelligence indicated they were held on a fortified space station in the Kryn home system. It was a trap, obviously. The Kryn wanted to lure human forces into a kill box. Taeyang went anyway. His fleet jumped into the system and immediately came under fire from concealed weapon platforms. His ships took heavy damage. 3 were destroyed. But Taeyang's fleet did not retreat. They pushed forward with the single-minded determination that had characterized humanity for thousands of years. The station's commander was Warlord Thraknor himself. He had taken personal command, determined to kill at least some humans before his empire fell. He watched the human ships approach despite his devastating fire. They are insane, he muttered. They know it is a trap. They know many will die, yet they come anyway. Velcor, standing beside him, said quietly, They are coming for their people, Warlord. They will sacrifice a fleet to save 100 prisoners. That is why we cannot win. That is why no one wins against humanity. They do not calculate cost versus benefit. They calculate right versus wrong. Taeyang's boarding parties breached the station. They fought through corridor after corridor, taking casualties but never stopping. Finally, they reached the prisoner holding area. 147 human prisoners remained alive. They were thin and injured but alive. Taeyang saw his pilots, his engineers, his colonists, people who had been taken from their homes and tortured for information. "We are going home," Taeyang told them. "All of us. Together." As his forces extracted the prisoners, Taeyang came face to face with warlord Thraknor. The Kryn commander had a weapon but did not raise it. He looked at the human captain with something like understanding. "How?" Thraknor asked. "How did you hide such power? Why did you not use it to conquer?" Taeyang looked at the alien who had started this war. "We did not hide it. We simply chose peace. Your mistake was thinking that peace meant weakness. Now you know better. We are very good at surviving, and we are very good at making sure threats do not survive. You started this. We are ending it." Thraknor slowly lowered his weapon. "What will you do with me?" "You will stand trial for war crimes," Taeyang said. "You will face justice. If you surrender now, your people might survive this. If you continue, we will keep fighting until there is nothing left of the Kryn Empire but dust and warnings." Thraknor looked into the human's eyes and saw no hatred there. Only cold determination. This was a species that could burn worlds if necessary. But they would prefer not to. That made them more terrifying, not less.